And we are live. Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus. How you going, Amanda?
Fabulous yourself, Avon, this Friday the 13th.
It is a little bit creepy, spooky, bad luck, and all that fun things. So, what a perfect time to talk about the weakest link.
Yes, and that is you, business owner.
Yes, well, it's been me. I'm pretty sure it's been you. It's been
Absolutely.
everybody, really. So, if you're in business and you're trying to get things going and it's not getting past a certain point, there's probably something stopping you, and it's probably you. So, how do we not be the weakest link in the chain? I think there's a lot of things that to consider, and at some point you are always going to be the weakest link. Just that link is going to be a different link at different times because
That's
you help holding things together in all parts of your business. So you just need to remove and remove and remove. And at a certain scale, you become a different problem, but you're still a problem. So new levels, new devils. What's
that's it.
what's your weak link moment? What's one that you've had recently?
Uh, Maybe not so much recently. For me, it has always been a consistency issue. So I get
Mm,
complacent and the boring stuff will get neglected because I will go and do the thing that I enjoy doing or
mm,
the thing that I've deluded myself into thinking will be a magic bullet or shiny object, and
mm,
that's normally where I've been distracted in the past and where I've become the weakest link. So
mm,
for me, it's about not chasing the shiny object, being boring, really. So following the system, following the process, and not trying to reinvent the wheel
mm.
every day, week, month.
Yeah, I think a bit of both is healthy. Like if you definitely need to be boring early on, and then that process scales. Then you hand it off to somebody, and you pay them to do the boring thing, and then you go and do the fun thing. Because you still need to go and figure out what's new on the horizon. What's coming up in your industry. You need to talk to people.
Yeah,
You need to be that exploring one,
yeah,
figuring out the next thing. But you can't do that if you're stuck over here. So the boring thing is important. Um, that makes me think of a Bluey episode. Boring things are still important, where they're up at one end of the pool and they didn't take sunscreen and they have to hide in the shade. Boring things are still important. So
consequences.
absolutely, yes. So yeah, one way to do it is to just use the damn process. Like you've probably built a process, but you're not using it, or you go, "I'll just do it this way." But because you're doing it this way, you didn't write down the steps that you took, and then when you got so and so from your organization come in and take over for you, they have no idea what happened because you didn't follow the process, and there's no notes.
That's right. That's right. Or you took some notes and they were incomplete. And as you just said, Avon, like the
Mm,
way we record it is not the way we actually do it in real life. So when we're creating those systems and processes, please make sure they are based in reality, not in some unicorn fantasy land that
mm.
might exist in your head.
Yeah. And you need to build the system for failure. You need to think about how someone else is going to make a mistake. And it might be that you give them a checklist to review, that they go through and understand the high level process, because they might see the thing that's just in front of them and go, why am I doing this when I can just skip to part Z and then just get it done? But if you go, all right, well, here's the process as an overall overarching thing, and this
Yeah.
is why we do it this way,
Yes.
because we've had that problem and that problem and that problem.
Yes,
Controls it.
include all the whys, the why we do things, and then where they can potentially run into problems. So all those troubleshooting issues, even if it's something that only comes up every 6 months, it means that you don't become that failure point because you didn't record it somewhere.
Hmm. And I think like using the process is not just you as the weakest link as the business owner. It is the staff. So you need
Yeah,
to sit there with a whip and rule with an iron fist and go, did you use a process? Did you use a process?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's like doing sit-ups, or doing reps in the gym. You get the muscle because you did the reps. So when you have you're saying follow the process, when you get to 200 customers going through that process and 20 staff handling that process, because everybody followed the process, everybody else in that chain knows what's happening, and no one has to come to you and go, where's this client at? Where's that client at? And you're like, I have no idea. What wasn't involved?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And it means you get consistency in your output. So your clients get what they're expecting, not a subpar version or some other like alternate reality version of what they were expecting.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other one we were saying is don't re-engineer the process all of the time. And by that, like, yes, make tweaks, make changes, but don't completely rip and replace the process, because you're basically turning your business into a science project, right? So you have a hypothesis, you put something in, you test the hypothesis, then you start testing variables, and then you get to the outcome. If you just start by completely ripping and replacing the whole thing, then you're going to cause an issue with the data that you get back. Did it work or not? No idea, because we're inconsistent with our approach.
Yeah, you were changing it too many times. Like, hello. Set a rule around when you're testing something. So one of my mentors always says 90 days to data, test something for 90 days, because that is a good amount of time for you to get solid data across all iterations of whatever it is you're doing. So don't change during your test period.
Yeah. And, like you watch Mythbusters, they have a control, right? They go, let's do a test just to see the baseline of how things are if we change nothing. If we just do a basic, run the process as though there are no systems and see what people do, that's your start point. And then when you go, all right, let's implement that process now. Okay, turns out we got 20% better retention of customers because they didn't feel like they were left alone after you closed the deal or something like that.
Yes, no, outstanding. See, I love these Mythbusters references, Avon. I feel like maybe we need to do a Mythbusters episode. Cool.
Business Busters or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. Put that in the kitty. Write that down.
Mythbusters, yeah.
Yes.
So the other one is do things that don't scale. You'll hear this a lot online if you follow anything to do with Airbnb. I think that I'll get the name wrong. David Chetsky, I want to say. Anyway, one of the founders of Airbnb. And one of the things that they had was they needed to get good quality listings to get good, people coming through and for people to want to stay at these places. And so they wanted to go and get professional photography done. Initially, they had it as like a special service, and they would only, do it themselves, and they would go to these locations, film or take photos, and then put that up on the listing to make it look really good. And eventually they started to build this as part of the service of onboarding, is that they would do these photographers, but then they ran out of headspace at time. And so they went and hired a whole bunch of contractors to go and do it. So, but to do that, they managed it on a spreadsheet, and then they got to like hundreds of these photos. And then they're like, let's get an intern on it. And then they kept going on the spreadsheet before they built the software solution. And they then had an intern managing a whole bunch of interns doing all of these photo projects, like set up at this time. Here's the info pack. And only then after they had 500 of these a month, did they go, let's now build a software solution to solve that. So they did the thing in the boring spreadsheet for long enough to go, here is the pattern. Here are the variables.
I love it.
Here's where you make the mistakes. Yeah.
So, and sorry, I am imagining a spreadsheet and the wheels falling off very dramatically. So that system worked for them, obviously.
Well, it worked to a point, but the thing was, the spreadsheet solution works to a point. So you shouldn't try to do a process until it's mature enough for you to actually consolidate it and lock it down into a software. So if you want to, let's just say you're starting out and you go, right, I'm going to spend all this time building a thing and then no one uses it. or it's not effective. But at least by the time you've got to the spreadsheet thing, you've figured out all of the wild variables. You've done your I'm going to use a military term here, bolt adjust, right? So when you're trying to sight a rifle in, you do a bolt adjust, which is fire 3 rounds, see where they land, take the average, and just go, well, let's wind it on in over here. And
Gotcha.
that's not anywhere near accurate at that point. It is just go from wildly off to somewhat close. And then let's do a proper grouping series and then try to get that narrowed down to directly on target. So
there you go.
when you do a bolt adjust, it is just like, let's go from no idea to something and go from there. And that's what you got to do in the spreadsheet is go from no idea to something and then refine, put it in the software, refine further.
Gotcha. So we're not worrying about, as always, we're not worried about perfection, just progress, right? Let's get it in there. Let's test it. If something doesn't work, what can we do to fix it and keep moving forward? Love it.
If you're going to spend 100 grand on development costs, do it when you know exactly what you're building and why, and that people are already invested in the process and will see that this will be a better outcome to that. And then you can start, cutting and automating and doing things like that.
Yeah, cool. I like it. Very good.
And the last one we had was do the boring stuff really, really well.
Yes.
Be brilliant at the basics. Like the weakest link is not just, like sales or anything like the very front facing obvious things. It could be, someone who has to open the door in the morning, or someone has to, pay all the accounts, or sitting there doing all the books. There's a million bottlenecks. And so you need to try and look at all of them because they, as you grow, let's just say you grew your business 100%, right? So you doubled on last year. Now, every single thing that you are responsible, if you're responsible for 100 things, you're now responsible for 100 things at double the size.
Right.
So you need to look at how you do those 100 things really, really well so that they don't double. And if they do, well, you've got the ability to, start handing them off, and because you've processed eyes, you've structured, you've made them simple, you've taken out the fluff that doesn't need to be there, and then you've been able to scale.
Absolutely. Now, all of that said, Avon, going back to what you asked me at the beginning, where were you the bottleneck? Where were you the weakest link?
There's been quite a few over the years. I remember one was it was a payday. It was 3 a.m. on the 31st of March, 2015.
Okay, so a hot minute ago.
Yes, and the reason why I remember it is because that was my daughter's birthday.
Very good, very good.
Day of birth.
Right? Right. Oh, okay. Fresh out of the oven.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Birthday. So payroll was due, and I was in the hospital. I'd had 2 days no sleep at that point, and I'd needed a way to get the payroll done. Thankfully, I was using a facial recognition scanner, which goes to a cloud software, and there was some payroll specialists as part of the service. They were expensive, but you only ever delved into that when they had like something you had to check on Fair Work or some complex calculation you had to go back through and recalculate 6 months of whatever. You can pick up the phone and they're like, a couple $100 an hour, and they're charging minute increments and all that sort of stuff. But what I did was just like, I'll just take the hit, you do the payroll. And I just sent the message. I'm like, I can't do it. You have to do it. And that like ordinarily would have been about bottleneck, but I wasn't. I solved that.
Yeah, nice.
But that was like a really critical moment, not only for me personally, but in the business. To pay 13 staff at that moment. And since then, I've restructured the way payroll happens so that there is redundancy in the system. For example, I think it's really stupid when you work from, people go Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday night, and then they expect the payroll to be done first thing Monday morning. They expect their pay in their account that day. You need a few days for processing, like at
Yes,
scale. Otherwise,
exactly.
what happens is you end up with, all these people banging on your door because, you are 1 minute late. I think what I have is the cutoff is Sunday.
Yeah,
And then I allow myself 3 days to process, and then the
yeah,
pay is on Thursday. So
yeah.
if
Perfect.
if there's a public holiday, if something comes up, if I'm sick, whatever, or I can deal with it, right? I can hand
Yeah.
it off. I can massage things around. I just think
Mhm.
that's really important to have failure built into the system, in the
Yeah.
sense that you are prepared to deal with something, but you plan that hopefully that will never happen.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's we did an episode about this, didn't we, Avon? What was that episode called?
I
Maybe you
have
don't
no.
remember the name. The topic was all around the key person risk and making sure that you have contingency plans in
Yes.
place
Yeah.
when the situation's just like that.
Yes. Yeah. So whether it's a process or another person or a mitigation strategy. So like
Yes.
if you know that, when the time comes, you can delay that thing by 3 days
Mm-hmm.
or 24 hours, that could be a lifesaver in some regards. So
Absolutely.
don't be
Absolutely.
the
Know what
weakest.
options are available to you.
That's it. That's it. Well, I think that's been pretty good. We do cover this and many other things in the Relevate community. So if you're interested to find out more, ask questions, join us, check out the link below. But otherwise, happy Friday the 13th. Have you enjoyed yourself? Have you learned anything?
Oh, always, always. I am satisfied with my care, Avon.
Right, I am. I'll power down. But most of all, if you're watching, you should definitely be staying classy, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.